So the first question I wanted to ask you is, because you are in Jerusalem, first, could you just tell us, before we get into more technical questions, about what it is like right now in Jerusalem? We were earlier speaking to people in Tel Aviv who were telling us that they're regularly having to go to bomb shelters.
In Jerusalem, it is quiet. Usually the missiles that are being launched by Hamas toward Jerusalem are being intercepted. Life is almost normal. Schools are closed for the time being.
Yeah.
And the mood is rather gloomy because of the heavy price we paid yesterday because of the Hamas attack.
Can you tell us, sir, what is the information that you're receiving minute by minute from the government? Because in India, we're given to understand that the terrorists are in multiple different places, not in one place. So are you receiving information about that as citizens, where to go, where not to go? Or have you just been instructed blanket stay at home?
We are fully informed, maybe fully is a too strong word, about the whereabouts of the terrorists. There are several areas or several pockets in which the terrorists are still active. But most of the area within Israel has been cleared of terrorists, and basically we are preparing for invasion of Gaza.
Can I ask you about this? We know that Gaza has about 2.5 million people. Correct me if at any point I'm wrong. And we know that large numbers of those people are very sympathetic to Hamas, but there are also a number of civilians who are there. Can you tell us more about what that means for the average Israeli citizen? The fact that, as you're saying, an invasion is possibly going to take place in the next few hours.
Unfortunately, Hamas is popular among the Palestinians, particularly in Gaza, more than in the West Bank. And this is, of course, a source of concern for Israelis, because the ideology of Hamas requires the destruction of the Jewish state, which makes it an implacable enemy of the state. We succeeded somehow to contain Hamas hostility and violent acts so far, but what we've seen yesterday is unprecedented level of violence against us, and I don't think that Israel can no longer tolerate this barbaric organization next to its border.
Can I ask you, sir, the Prime Minister had said a few hours ago that they're essentially going to attempt to, and I'm paraphrasing here, but they're going to attempt to raise it to the ground. For people in Israel, what does that mean? What do they think is going to happen?
I don't think that the intent of the government is to literally raise Gaza to the ground, but its goal is definitely to uproot the Hamas rule in Gaza. And this requires a serious, large-scale ground operation to clean Gaza of terrorists, of Hamas operatives, and particularly the Hamas leadership.
Can I ask you, sir, and this is the last question I'll ask you. Can you tell me more about what you believe and what Israeli citizens around you believe? I'm sure there are many different opinions, but what you believe is the long-term answer here when it comes to the Gaza Strip in particular?
I think that we've been in conflict with the Palestinians for over 100 years. And the long-term vision is that this conflict will continue. And we'll have to use force once in a while to restore our deterrence. In the Middle East, you have to be strong and determined in order to survive. And this is the message that most Israelis adhere to, even if they have conflicting views over other issues. The survival of Israel depends on the military power of the state.
Can I ask you, sir, one last question before we let you go? Sir, there were protests before any of this took place. There were protests taking place against the Prime Minister, and certain rules, certain laws we'd seen come into place over the last few months. Has that political sentiment? It might be too early to ask you, but do you think that has shifted?
I don't think it shifted. It terminated. The
Hmm.
demonstrators announced that due to the security situation,
Right.
they stopped demonstrating, and the opposition expressed its support, full support for the government. And again, there is great consensus in Israel on security issues,
Hmm.
and the people are united behind the government.
Thank you, sir, for taking out the time to speak to us.
You are welcome.
I hope you only hear good news about your son. Thank you for speaking to us.